on the archival file. All right, and lastly, I've been asked to make some honorable mentions. First, I want to recognize some people who worked very hard to make this party what it is. This phrase has been said a lot of times at this convention, but we truly do stand on the shoulders of giants. I don't know if he's in the room, but if he's not, for any of you who don't know him, we have with us today Jeff Neal, former national chair and currently leading up the International Liberty Project, where he is getting together libertarian parties from around the world and networking them to make a World Liberty Coalition. So I want to thank him for attending and all the work he's done. Awesome. Thank you. Next up, we have someone in the room. Well, let me ask this before I say that. How many of you, besides your work, have dedicated a decade of your life to building something without a day of pay? That's an accomplishment. We got a few hands up there. I want to recognize a former state chair in the room who literally spent 10 years building up this party. He helped us fundraise last night. We had a great dinner banquet. Thank you, Pat Dixon. I also want to take some time to recognize all of the candidates who got up and put their name on the line and campaigned so hard for yesterday's nomination. Whenever this happens, a lot of times I think that we see the nomination, we get really excited about it, and then we kind of forget. We move forward, and I understand. We got to vote in the general election. We got to take that ball down the court. But we nominate one person, but in some of these races, 3, 4, 5 people put in time, effort, and money to get us the best candidate. And I've said many times in these uncontested races, it becomes somewhat hypocritical when we talk about voters not having choice at a ballot box, and we don't give ourselves that choice at this convention. And they gave us a choice, and they invested a lot of work into that. So thank you, guys. I hope I didn't forget any announcements anyone had asked me for, but that's all I had. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we have one more thing on the archive stuff. We are trying to make a memorabilia of everybody, so if you get a chance, if you could sign the picture being held up. Where will it be sitting? It'll be on one of the tables out there. It looks like this. Piggybacking on all the archiving talk, I was asked to mention, and I agree, we also have a state party archive at Baylor University. So if you get a chance, check that out. If you have any state party memorabilia, make sure and send it their way.
From who?
Good morning. I have an announcement regarding Team Tippets. Two things. Number one, we got to move merchandise. We got a table out there. We don't want anything still there when we leave. We got T-shirts, we got signs, whatever's out there, take it home with you, please. It's less stuff for us to pack, and more stuff for you. Secondly, what I'd like to do later when we're done with business here, we come back after lunch and we do some business. I want Team Tippets to be everybody in the room. We want you included. So if we have the ability to get back in here when we're done, and let's just talk about what the Team Tippets campaign is all about, what your role could be, I'd like to have you part of that team.
Good morning, fellow libertarians. Are y'all ready to get to work? Awesome. So Troy from Taylor County came up here and plugged Abilene for 2020. Let me just let you know that I want to plug Lubbock County. This past year, don't even start booing, you little Denton County people. No, I'm just kidding. We had a select meeting in Lubbock at a 4-star hotel, and the 4-diamond hotel. The individuals, libertarians in the Panhandle came together, and it cost the state party nothing. We paid for the meeting at the hotel, and we fed the select members so that cut down their cost of travel to be there to do this party's business. So please talk to your select reps and let them know where you would like for your convention to be in 2020, because this is for you, not just the members of select.
I want to say something to Carrie. Actually, I want to say something to everybody. Whether it's Abilene or Lubbock, we would appreciate and love to host you in West Texas, in the Panhandle. And who knows what's going on in 2020, but it's going to be an amazing year. And I really do appreciate everybody taking into consideration West Texas and the voters of West Texas, and come up and have some steaks and barbecue. And since they paid for the select meeting, I think they're going to cover the cost of the convention too, right?
I do want to say before I gavel us in, one thing I will say about Lubbock, we had a problem that I have never had at a select meeting. They got us a room too big, and we had trouble seeing and hearing each other from side to side, so.
Everybody got a seat, didn't they?
Everybody had a seat. And I'm sure there's plenty of space in that hotel, I guess is the point. All right, I'm going to go ahead and gavel us in. I think we're 2 minutes over. 5. Woo. We really pushed on. First up is the report from the Credentials Committee. I'm looking at you, Ms. Wilford. And I was a little worried at first, but we're having people file in. I think we may be good. Yeah.
I know.
All right, we currently have 251 delegates, making a majority 126.
251 and 126. Let me ask, are there any seated delegates in the area over here, or is this all alternates? It looks like we have a little more room. Could the seated delegates please join us at a table somewhere? do think at this point we have 126, so we can proceed with business. Mission Control. Do you know how to get to the link for the national delegate applications, the submissions?
Maybe it'll make eyes at you today. I was thinking, I was smiling.
All right. We can now move on to the election of national delegates. Anastasia, are you ready? 1 second. Okay. While she's getting ready, I do want to say we have had this interest form up on the convention website. We have. Let's come to order. All right. Okay. We have the results up on the screen. Unfortunately, there are too many to display at once. For the National Delegate Interest Submission Form that was put online, these results have been publicly available, as well as the form. And we have, what was the number, 71? We had 71 submissions. We have a total of 73 delegate spots available to the national. We have the second highest number of national delegates of any state in the country, and we're not going to mention the other one. Yeah,
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
there's a motion. Oh, yes.
Elliot Sherman, Harris County, I motion to elect everybody to national delegates.
Elect everybody who submitted a form.
Yes.
There is objection. Do you want to speak to your motion?
We can get it done really
Well,
fast.
sorry.
That's all I have.
Let me make sure, because there was a few things said. Did anyone say second?
Point of inquiry.
There was second. Okay. Point of inquiry.
As convenient as that would be, and as happy as I'd be, are there not rules as far as a slate vote?
No, not for this. No, there are rules for nomination by slate,
Okay.
and those have to do with county conventions nominating state officers.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Point of inquiry. So we have, did you say 72?
71 there and
70
73 spots.
We have 73 spots including alternates or 73 full delegates?
Full delegates.
Oh, so after, if this were to pass, we could add 2 more if we wanted to fill the delegation.
We could add 2 more, we could then do alternates.
Point of information, that's what I was.
Point of information.
Okay, so I was wondering if there are 2 other people who were interested. Oh,
Wouldn't it be?
All right, 1 second.
But it's related to what Pat just suggested. There actually, I've seen at least one on here where there are 2 people listed in one submission, which is why that won't work. There's at least one here where a couple of people are together in one slot,
Okay,
as
okay,
husband and wife or whatever.
okay.
So there's at least one of those.
Real quick, can we go through and find any others that have done
And
that?
those people need to go to national. Thank you.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Before we, whoa. We have a motion on the floor. We've heard an argument for. I want to ask, is there anyone who wants to speak against the motion on the floor?
Point of information.
Point of information.
Okay, so I'm brand new to the party, 60 days in, right? We just fought like crazy yesterday over the security test. What is the credentials these people have? They just fill out a website form and that's it?
That is all the information we have, is the website form.
So I'm just raising the point. I'm not saying let's not do this.
We're getting it into debate, and you raised a point of
Sure,
information,
point of
so.
question. So did they
But-
fill out anything else other than the form?
No, the form's the only thing they fill out.
Point of information, is it true that there's other information that they did submit other than what's on the screen? They answered questions about what qualifies them. They answered questions about their reason for wanting to go. So it is in there. We just didn't see
We're
it.
getting, so let me answer the question. Both are right. The only thing they submitted was the form, but you can scroll to the left and there's more information in the form than is on the screen, but all they have filled out is the form. So yes and yes. There was an argument against, I believe.
My argument against is, I believe there are some people that would like to be nominated from the floor.
Okay.
Point of information?
Point of
Is
information.
it true that the national party sets the criteria for this, not the state party?
By criteria, do you mean the number of delegates?
The criteria in order to become a delegate to national?
We can both set criteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You have to be recognized, so you need to approach the mic.
Motion to amend the motion.
Motion to amend.
I move, sir, that we do vote on all of the names except for the double counts.
Well, hold on. Is there a second to that amendment?
No. The motion is, any second person, any name that is listed twice, we would disregard the redundancy and then elect what the number that is available and then have those open slots.
Whoa. Before we go any further, I think you're misunderstanding. There are 2 entries in one line, not one line.
2 individuals in one line.
Yes.
Got it.
All right. So are you
I
retracting?
withdraw my motion to amend the motion.
Okay. Thank you.
point of information,
Point of information.
are you aware, sir, that there are people currently right now at this moment filling out this application online?
I have no awareness of how many people are not filling out the application.
So there might be somebody, and I was just wanting to make sure that the audience might be aware of this as well.
Well, and I guess I'll put a point on there. It's Google Forms, it updates in real time, so as submissions are going, that little line will creep on down. So, all right, I think the last thing we heard was an argument against. Is there any arguments in favor that want to come forward? Are there any other motions? If not, we can proceed. Yes.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Is it possible to get an updated split version of this list in real time right now?
It updates in real time, so if.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I have a point of information. Are all these people absolutely committed to going? Do we know that are they just interested, or are they actually committed to going?
There were questions about their commitment to going on the form, and they answered individually. So that is on the form, and you can make a decision according to that.
Mr. Chair, motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
I move that we amend to vote on adding all the people who have responded yes to the question, have you signed the LP pledge?
Would you scroll to that? Have you signed the Libertarian Party pledge? We vote on electing everyone who responded positively to that, and then we open to nominations for additional delegates.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I'm going to ask, before we go any further, before we get any points of information, is the secretary clear and caught up? Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, we have an amendment on the floor. It has been seconded. Yeah.
I'd like to speak in favor of the amendment to my original motion. Good idea.
Unless the maker of the amendment wants to speak, he does have first privilege, but if not, you can certainly do that. Point of order. We have an open nomination. He's just making a motion. If we go to a nominating process, we will do that at this point. It's just a motion to elect, which is different. So,
Point of information, is it true that there are now more than the allotted slots anyway, which means the original motion is no longer applicable?
Hold up. There's still a point of information we're trying to answer.
Well, that way we can get that second side. I'm not going to stand in this like, you are at the fire. No, no.
Order. Order. All right. Hold up. All right, so a point of information was raised. The question was, are there more people on here than there are ballots? It's been brought to my attention that the first line is just the headers, so there are 73 now. Hold up, whoa, let me answer the question. There are 73 lines now. There is one that is counted twice, and the amendment is to only do the ones who have answered yes. So I would suspect there are not more people who have answered yes to that question than there are slots to fill. There's the answer to the question. There's a point of information.
This is related to our question. Are there people who are on the list who would be willing to be alternates so that we could do this, picking the first 73? Are there anyone who's on the list who would say, I'd be willing to be an alternate?
I have no idea.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to amend the amendment.
Okay.
My amendment is that we would amend it so that anyone who already says yes to having a room there would be the limitation of the vote, and that we would then consider the other ones after that and vote on those separately.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Hold up, stop. Whoa.
That was a good. They're committed. They're committed.
Yeah, you gotta really.
So, On the amendment to the amendment, order. On the amendment to the amendment, what I'm hearing is, we have right now a motion to elect everybody who has answered yes to the question of have you signed the LP pledge, and you wish to insert and has put yes to has a room. Is my understanding of the amendment correct?
That is correct, except then we want to also be able to vote to add other members after that vote is made.
That extra portion would not be in order because the secondary amendment can only amend the amendment itself. I know that sounded convoluted, but it's the way it is.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman. Point of information.
Point of information.
Just how many alternates do we have?
How many slots or how many alternates?
Just, if we have 73 delegates, how many alternates do we have?
How many alternate slots? We have 73 alternate slots.
So it seems like this shouldn't be an issue. There should be less than 146 people that.
I think we're getting into debate. The question's been answered. Thank you.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Is there any concept of handling people that may be on that list that no longer will go?
I don't know. Yes. It was out of order, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. All right. Point of information. Well, hold up. I'm gonna say something. I think of this, and we can take a point of information if there is one. It would probably be good though if we moved it to debate and actually worked our way through this. I heard a
point of information.
Go ahead.
Is the document going to remain open while we debate and vote, or can it be closed at some point?
Can we close it off the screen, or can we stop submissions?
Stop new submissions.
We could do that. Point of order. Okay. You still have to approach the mic to call the question.
In case it hasn't been done, I object to the amendment to the amendment.
Yeah.
Call the question?
Motion to call, are you calling all pending questions or the current?
Calling all pending questions.
Calling all pending questions. This is undebatable. We will move to a motion. I'm sorry? Please approach the mic. Yes.
Was the amendment to the amendment seconded?
No, the amendment to the amendment was ruled out of order. All right. Point of information, please approach the mic.
Is this document available to the public so we can pull it up on our laptops or phones if we wanted to scroll by, or is it editable so you couldn't let other people see it?
A view-only link is available. It's been shared in the newsletter.
I was just looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
There's an easy way.
Well, you can what?
I have a point of information in a minute.
Hold up. I don't know how to efficiently give that to you. It's going to be a rather large link. And yes.
Okay, so to Mr. Sherman's point, the original motion that he made included a subset of the people listed in this document. Is there a way for us to know how many or where that line stopped as of when he spoke?
They'll have the times on them so we could look at it.
So can we discuss that real quick? Because that's important to the motion that we're about to vote on.
We cannot.
It's 71. Line 71.
Line 71, fine. But we cannot move into debate. So I will.
It wasn't debate, it was clarification on the motion.
That's fine, but you asked we could have discussion. But I will rule that line 71 is when his motion was made, and that's where the point is.
A point of information, please.
Hold up, I'm already taking one. Yeah. All right, we have another point of information.
Yes, most of us have no clue what we're voting on,
what's been called to questions, can we get the proposed
Yes.
amendment posted before we vote?
Yes, we can. All right, while he's pulling it up on screen.
Point of information.
Point of information.
So if we reject or we vote down these two motions, we can start all over with a new motion, correct?
Yes. Okay. The original motion was to elect all people who had filled out the interest form as national delegates. The amendment is to insert the words after form and checked yes to filling out the LP pledge. All right. Is everybody clear on the two things we're considering here? So the first thing we are going to do is vote on whether to call the question. Point of order. It was ruled out of order. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is vote on calling all pending questions. That means we will take every question on the floor and work through them without further debate, one by one. If that passes, we will then go to the amendment, then we'll go to the motion. First up, I did hear an objection earlier to calling the question, so all in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed? That does gain 2/3. All in favor of adopting the amendment, the words in red, to the motion, raise your hand. All opposed? That passes. All in favor of adopting this motion as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? Let's do that again. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Yeah, that was much clearer. Motion passes. I'm going to suggest that somebody move a 5 or 10 minute recess while we figure out how many people were just elected. Yes. 15 minutes? Okay. There's been a motion to recess for 15 minutes. I did hear a second. Is there objection? There is objection. Is there any amendments or discussion? It's not debatable. Sorry. Is there any amendment? Okay. With that said, we will proceed to a vote. All in favor of a 15-minute recess, raise your hand. All opposed to a 15-minute recess. Motion passes. We are recessed until 9:45.
Even though they're out there protesting, the government that's building the power plant.
I didn't put that on my list, but no, I would definitely. Oh, that's kind of cool. Wow, okay. So it's down to 63? Oh, 62. All right.
Lauren Doherty? Anybody seen Lauren Doherty? Lauren? Lauren? Oh, there you go.
He thought he did. Anti-Liz, yeah.
My first time with Libertarian Party was Russell Means, Native American, what's not anybody, Ron Paul. My first campaign was at the last meeting. I love it. I get to see it. There's not very many
All right, it's 9:45. If there's anyone out in the hall, please make your way into the main business session and we will return to order. We have the results. All right. I do recognize a quorum at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have filtered through the results. We froze it back to number 72 when the motion was made. And we have filtered down to only the yeses, and I took the one name that was for two people and separated into two lines. To start, let's go all the way to the bottom. I guess whoa, not that far at the bottom. I meant like to the bottom of the list. Yeah. 61. We have elected 61 people as delegates, and now if you'll go to the top, I want to just kind of scroll through, and we can see who those people are for people's information. I don't plan on reading it off, but if you can just kind of at a reasonable pace, you know.
Or even 700 words a minute.
Maybe a little bit faster than that. We only have 30 more minutes.
That's one of those things you shared that I actually.
Yeah.
That anybody shared. I had a class in 7th grade.
We're blocking the screen.
All right.
Point of information.
I was 7. No. I am. I got it. Number 2 today, right?
I mean, I'm not.
1 second, guys. It's been pointed out that there's a duplicate in there. Order. And I apparently either Excel has moved something on me or I've completely forgotten the remove duplicates function. So it'll be just 1 second.
1001. Oh, did I say that out loud? Say what? Yeah. Well, actually, what I'm running for is to make a motion that we, how many votes to either accept or reject the platform community report in its entirety. That's the kind of stuff that people hear around.
One second. Remove. Here we go. That's the reason. I figured it out.
If you're a delegate, you get one.
Remove duplicates. We just want to go by name. One duplicate found.
You said you did not get one? Did they run out? Yeah, it's right here. So as soon as we're done with the delegate, we're gonna do the.
Oh, I know. I know. I see. C2. Sorry, I shifted that up when I did it. All right. We only found one duplicate name in there, leaving us with 60. Leaving 13 positions available. At this time, I will recognize, what's the number over there?
2.
2. I'll recognize microphone 1.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to open the nominations to fill the rest of the delegation.
I'm sorry, order please, we can't hear.
I'd like to make a motion to fill the rest of the delegation with nominations, beginning with myself, Kevin Hale.
Okay, so a motion has been made to fill the rest of the delegates. Are you talking about like a nomination and election process?
Well, fill the delegation.
Well, I know, but you said a nomination. Here's my question. A nomination is usually followed by an election. So are you talking about we'll take ballots and we'll elect the other?
I don't know however the body wishes to do it. I would like to go to New Orleans. Arvin hurts me.
So I think what you're doing is making a motion to add yourself to this list.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So, please repeat your name.
Kevin Hale. I'm the marketing director for the Libertarian Party of Dallas County.
There has been a motion to add Kevin Hale to the list. Second, is there any objection to adding Kevin Hale?
Point of information.
Point of information.
This list is already accepted, correct?
Yes.
So if we have more than our delegates in number,
Our slots are
What I'm
73.
saying is if we have more people that want to be added to the list, that could create another issue.
I don't think it would.
Okay.
Okay.
Point of
All
information.
right. Point of information.
Is it out of order if we see someone on this list we think should not be on it to make a motion to remove them? Is it too late? Because I didn't see all those names before that happened.
It's out of order. Is there a motion on the floor? Well, no, you said you want to make a motion to get the chair to do that. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, and then when you recognize whether you.
I saw your name on the list. You're on.
Okay, so order. Let's return to order. Okay. There's two different answers depending on what your objection is. So let me ask you, is your objection that you don't believe they met the qualifications of the original motion?
Can you repeat what the original motion was, please?
The original motion was to add everybody who had signed up on the list at the time and had selected yes for signing the national pledge. So is your objection that they didn't meet that criteria?
On the grounds that they said yes incorrectly because they actually do not agree with that pledge.
Okay.
They may have answered yes, but they answered yes incorrectly. Fraudulently.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. At this point, we have to take the order. At this point, we have to take the member at their word because the oath can be administered in many different ways, and we have no way of knowing they didn't do it.
What if there's parts online on Facebook showing that they publicly denounced the non-aggression principle?
Okay, we're not going there. So if you want to amend this list, it would be under a motion to reconsider, which we would have to go all the way back through it. All right.
Point of information.
Motion to reconsider, please.
Okay.
Point of clarification, I guess.
Point of order. We're going to have to take that motion up after we dispose of this motion, but it's in order, but we're going to have to dispose of it later. All right, we have a motion. Point of information.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if
If
they'll scroll to item 20, line 27, I believe, there's two names on that. So, oh, it is? Okay. Withdraw the inquiry.
Thank you. All right, let's come to order. We do have a motion on the floor to add Kevin Hell. I'm going to ask again because I don't actually remember what the answer was. Is there any objection to adding Kevin Hell to this list? Seeing no objection, we'll add him to the list.
Motion to reconsider the original motion before that motion.
Motion to reconsider the vote on these. Point of order. You can, you can speak as many times as you want, just not more than twice on a single motion. Anyway, we have a motion on the floor to reconsider. Is there a second to the motion to reconsider? There is a second. I'm gonna. That's not debatable. It is debatable. Okay. Do you want to speak to your motion to reconsider?
I would like to speak to my motion. Based on the grounds that we made this motion for people that have marked yes on that pledge, I think it's a big deal that we make a big deal about somebody who marks yes on that pledge when they do not actually believe in that pledge. The evidence is on Facebook. An individual with the name of Benjamin Leader has publicly denounced the non-aggression principle. I am okay with somebody making an individual motion for him to be added back on the list but I am not okay with somebody being on that list on the grounds that they mark yes on that pledge when they have publicly denounced that pledge.
All right. Do we have anyone that wants to speak against the motion to reconsider? Please.
Benjamin Leonard has some tactical problems with the non-aggression principle. I spent quite a bit of time arguing with him about this. But he does not, it's reports that he does not have problems with the pledge, and that which I believe he has signed, and he also does not have problems with the statement of principles.
Okay, thank you.
Point of inquiry.
Point of inquiry.
Would it be possible to get, how many people's names are on this list?
Well, with the addition of Kevin Hale, I believe we're up to 61.
Okay, so point of order. Would it be possible to have all 61 candidates stand up and let us know if they truly believe in the NAP? As we are possibly causing.
I don't really think we have organization to go through all those, so we cannot, we can't do that. All right, well, if there is no further debate, we can proceed to a vote on the motion to reconsider. I want to let everybody know what this is going to do. This is going to take us back, undo the motion completely, and we'll be back to square one, except for Kevin Hale, because he was added in a separate motion. So, it will require a majority vote in order for it to pass. Point of information, please approach the mic. Point of order, please approach the mic. All right, as soon as we dispose of this, we'll proceed on to a vote. Are you a delegate? Are you seated? He has a voter button. He has a voter button.
Does a motion to reconsider not have to come from someone who voted yes on the original motion?
Yes, Did the person who raised the motion to reconsider vote in the affirmative? I don't know where he went. Did you vote for the motion? Yes. Okay, he did vote in the affirmative, so this is in order. All in favor of reconsidering, that means undoing this, raise your hand. All opposed to reconsidering. Motion to reconsider fails.
Point of information.
Point of information.
What is the easiest way to open delegations for everybody? Instead of having to motion each individual person.
I think that probably is the easiest way. The other option would be nominations and ballot. So.
I feel like it's their turn next, but
Department
information. I did not. Yeah.
Point of information. All right, point of information, yes.
This way.
Oh, over here, sorry.
Order. Procedurally, is there a way to reconsider one person already on the list of approved delegates?
No, not at this point.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to add John Spivey as a delegate.
I did hear a second somewhere in there. If there's no debate, we can proceed to a vote on this. All in favor of adding Mr. Spivey to the list, raise your hand. All opposed. Mr. Spivey, congratulations.
Thanks, everybody.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Is it possible that the people that want to be delegates to national, if they have already purchased their conference tickets or their hotel or something like that, that those people can be given deference in being added to this list because they've already made that commitment?
That would be up to a motion or the general will of the delegate.
So a motion could be made to that end?
We can make a motion to, let's say, add the first however many people that are, I mean, there can be motions made, right?
Thank you.
Point of order.
Would the chair please allow the option for anybody recommending themselves to just be accepted by acclamation first rather than a vote?
That's fine.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Curry Taylor, Chair of Dallas County. I'd like to add myself to the list of the delegation.
Second. Is there any objection to Mr. Taylor? I hear no objection. Congratulations.
Point of information.
Yes.
Is it appropriate at this time to make a motion to add nominees to this list instead of going one by every person who's going to line up to nominate one person or themselves?
So, I've confirmed with the parliamentarian. He suggested an alternate route we could do is nominate a bunch of people, but then what we do is go to a voice vote on each one, which is more or less what we're doing now. So.
Point of information, what happens when we reach the max and there's still people who want to be delegates?
Hold on. What was the question? Oh, the question was, what happens when we run out of delegate slots? We have no more delegate slots to be added. We could add alternates, I guess, is the answer. Let me ask real quick. How many people aren't on the list who are wanting to be added? Raise your hand. Okay, we clearly have more than we have spots, so I'm going to come over here to this microphone.
Thank you. My name is Kim Andrews. I'm from Bear County. I was on the list, but I didn't sign the pledge beforehand. I have now gone to the national site and signed the pledge, and I would like to nominate myself to be a delegate. Thank you.
All right. Can you please repeat your name? I didn't quite catch it.
Kim Andrews.
Kim Andrews.
From Bear
All right. What? Yeah, 1 second. Is there? I heard a second. Is there any objection to Ms. Andrus being added to the list? Hearing no objection, congratulations. Will you please approach the table over here so we can get you added? Come to this microphone.
Mr. Chair, L. Rosen, Treasurer of Dallas County. I signed the LP pledge. I'd like to have myself added to the delegate list.
Awesome. Can you please repeat your name? There's a little bit of chatter.
L. Rosen.
L. Rosen. There's been a motion to add Ms. Rosen. I didn't hear a second. Is there any objection to adding Ms. Rosen? Hearing none, will you please approach over here so we can get you after the list? I'm going to come to this microphone.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Can we have a running tally on the list, please?
Is it not? Oh, well.
Is the number we're seeing the total number delegate?
1 second. It is going to be one less than the column we're on. So for our column 66, it'll be column 65. All right.
All candidates have
Roslyn Leone from Guadalupe County. Guadalupe County would like to nominate myself, Roslyn Leone, and our congressional candidate, Anthony Cristo.
So you're moving to add 2 people?
Yes.
Okay. There's been a motion to add Mr. Leone and who else? Who was the second person? Anthony Cristo. All right. Mr. Leone and Mr. Cristo, there's been a motion to add both of them. Is there any objection to that motion? Yes. There's objection. We can proceed to a vote on the matter. Anyone in favor of adding these 2 gentlemen, raise your hand. It is debatable. Do you want to speak to your motion, Mr. Leone?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I have run 3 times as a congressional candidate, so I've signed the pledge many times. I was at the last national convention, so I'm familiar with the convention, and I'm on the select committee now. Anthony Cristo is our congressional candidate in District 15, and has brought a lot of strength and new energy to the party.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak against? Yes, please.
Hi, this is my first convention, so if I get something wrong, please correct me. My understanding here is we have approximately 7 seats left and that we are adding people to the actual delegate list one by one, which means the next 7 people to get these motions passed will be delegates and no one else will get consideration. I think a better process would be to have nominations and elections, since I saw approximately 20 hands raised of people who want to be delegates and we have 7 slots. If I'm factually wrong about this, please correct me.
All right. Anyone to speak in favor? I'm seeing no one else seeking to be recognized. At this point, we can proceed to a vote. All in favor of adding these 2 gentlemen, raise your hand. All opposed? I think that's going to pass. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? That clearly passes. Will both of you please approach the table over here so we can get your name added to the list? I'm going to come over here.
Hi, my name is Rudy Wright from Smith County, and I would love to be a delegate to national.
All right, there's been a motion to add Rudy Wright. Is there any? There's a second. Point of order.
That wasn't actually what he said.
I'd like to make a motion to add myself to the list.
I will recognize that motion. There's a second. Is there any objection to adding Mr. Wright to the list? Point of inquiry.
Did you sign the pledge?
I'm not sure where the pledge is, but I know I've signed numerous Libertarian pledges before and a very active member in our county. If somebody has a pledge somewhere, I'll be happy to review it and sign it, assuming it's compliant with the NAP.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, is there any objection to adding Mr. Wright? Objection. Well, now do you want to speak to your motion? Do we want to do any debate?
I was here to speak to my motion. I realized that I guess the pledge might be a concern. I didn't know that we were supposed to go online. I assumed there was going to be more the vote process, or I didn't know how the process worked. So I would hope my ignorance doesn't cost me the opportunity to attend national. And of course, I was hoping to take my wife and get her involved too. So I'm not trying to get 2 seats. I don't know how that works either.
Do you want to speak against?
Yes. Rudy, you and I know each other. It's nothing against you personally, but there are people in the room. I'm actually in line to nominate someone else who's a long-standing Libertarian member. So we're in a point here where the people that I know that have signed the pledge.
Point of order. Please address me. Thank you.
Hi, John.
Hey, Pat.
So people that have signed the pledge that have long-standing history, that's where we're at. So it's not something against Rudy. It's that I think we want to have spaces, and Rudy could be an alternate, perhaps.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dixon. If there's no, Mr. Shearman?
I'd like to speak in favor of Rudy. He's an excellent Libertarian. There's absolutely no reason he wouldn't take a principled Texas voice to New Orleans.
Thank you. Is there any more debate before we proceed to a vote?
I'd like to speak in favor of Rudy as well, please.
All right.
I'd like to vouch for him as well. He lives liberty every day, and I think that while the pledge may or may not have been signed at some point in the past, to try to say that because someone signed it 10 minutes ago when they signed up, that's more valid than someone who we can vouch for that's been living it. I just don't think that that's an accurate or fair way to judge someone, whether they signed something 10 minutes ago or not.
Thank you. Is there any other debate before we proceed?
Call the question.
Motion to call the question. There's a second. All in favor of call. Is there any objection to calling the question? I see no objection. We'll now proceed to a vote on adding Mr. Wright to this list. All in favor? Is there any objection to adding? Oh, there was. Sorry. All in favor of adding Mr. Wright, raise your hand. All opposed to adding Mr. Wright. Motion passes. Congratulations, Rudy. Okay, over here.
Brad Clardy, Lubbock, Texas. I'd like to nominate Jordan Linnenkugel as a nominee to the National Convention. She will already be in New Orleans and is the Lubbock County Libertarian Chair.
There's been a motion to add Jordan Linnenkugel. Before we go there, Did you mean to nominate or to make a motion to add? I mean, they're not really in nominations right now, so a nomination will be out of order. Did you want to make a motion
Motion
to add Jordan Leinenkugel? Okay, Mr. Wright, before we go any further, can you please approach the table over here so we can make sure we get your information correctly? I'm sure we can get in touch with you. All right. So there's been a motion to add Jordan Leinenkugel. Is there any objection to adding Jordan Leinenkugel? There is objection. Point of information, please approach the mic.
Do we have any confirmation about the LP pledge status of Mr. Leinenkugel?
I don't. Do you? I'm hearing yeses in the background, so. All right.
Vote to amend.
Move to amend, okay.
I would like to add, given this shortage going on, I would like to start adding people as alternates and focus on reserving our main seats for a small number of other people. So I'd like to move to add this person as an alternate.
There's been a motion to amend to strike the word delegate and insert alternate. It's been pointed out, this is going to be fun.
That's what we're trying to determine.
Our rules dictate that we must do alternates by ballot, but do not dictate that for delegates. So, we cannot do alternates that way. I know. I love them too. All right. With that said, the amendment is out of order and we can move back to the main motion. All in favor of adding Jordan Leinenkugel, please raise your hand. All opposed? I'm going to go again. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? That passes. Could you please, Mr. Cardi, could you please come over here so we can get the name correctly? I'm going to come over here.
I'd like to move to add Laura Valle to the list. She is the chair of the committee that put on this convention, and she has already purchased a gold package to the national convention as well. She's a longtime Libertarian from Bexar County, and she has signed the pledge.
All right. There's been a second. Is there any objection to adding Ms. Valle? I hear no objection. Point of personal privilege. All right. Yeah. Hey, in an effort to try to make it as easy as possible, let's try and keep the noise in here down a little bit, and obviously we can't help the noise outside. But all right, we were just there. We're coming over here.
Hi, my name is Karen Reeves from McLennan County, and I stood in line to make a motion to add myself as an alternate delegate, and unfortunately, I just found out we are not allowed to do that right now. But
Point of order.
Point of order.
Is it possible to make a motion to suspend the rules following the delegate selections to add alternates by the same method?
That is a suspendable rule.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't think a motion has been made at this point, so there's nothing to second. Hold up.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend those rules.
So,
Point of order.
Point of order.
Do we not need to select all the delegates prior to that?
Not necessarily, no.
Thank you.
All right, so what I heard is there is a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Hold on, we can't second yet because we don't have a motion. There is a motion on the floor to suspend the rules for the purpose of selecting alternates in a method other than balloting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Is there any objection to the suspension? Yes. There is objection. We can now proceed to a vote. All in favor of suspending the rules for the purpose stated, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. That clearly gains 2/3.
Thank you.
All right. Was there a motion you wanted to consider for that rule suspension?
Yes, I would like to consider adding myself to the alternate delegate list for the national convention.
Could you
That
please
is a motion.
Could you please state your name?
Karen Reeves from McLennan County.
Kara Reeves. There's been a motion to add Ms. Reeves to the alternate list. Is there a second? Is there objection? Can we open up another? All right.
I have a point of order.
Yes.
Our alternates have to be ranked, which is why I was going to stand against this. So, is this now what we're doing? Are we in order still?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Would it be a point of order if I could fix a point of order?
Although that can be overturned. Right here. I don't even know when we started. I was there. I couldn't remember when you started 2010 or 2012, but I might have started 2012. I've been there.
All right, come to order. Come to order. All right. At this time, we have come to the end of this section on the agenda. So, a couple things here. One, it's been pointed out to me that we need a ranking. If we don't consider any more alternates, not really a problem because the rank is obvious. But if we want to make a motion to extend, it's been suggested that we go ahead and do the alternates by ballot to accommodate that ranking. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to add a ranking to 73 people unless we decide to go by the order they're added, I guess. That would be a method.
Can I speak? Since this is my first time, I'm willing to be number 73. I would love to for the experience, and I'm not looking for number one. I'm willing to start at the bottom and work my way up.
All right. I'm not taking that as information because we have reached the end of this agenda item. So if anyone wants to make a motion to extend, we can do that. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the credentials report.
No. I move to extend.
You move to extend for how long?
10 minutes.
Move to extend for 10 minutes. Okay. There's been a... Well, we have to have...
Point of information.
Hold up. Is there a second? There's a second. I have a point of information.
Isn't it true that you can go to the national convention without being a delegate?
That is true. All right. There's a motion on the floor to extend this item for 10 minutes.
Motion to amend the motion.
Motion to amend.
To extend for 20 minutes.
To strike 10 and insert 20. There is a second. We'll now proceed to a vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed to the amendment? Amendment passes. We'll now proceed to a motion to extend 2/3. It requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor of extending, raise your hand. All opposed to extending? That gains 2/3. Okay. Request for information.
Are the alternates for the state of Texas only allowed to be seated as delegates for the state of Texas at the national convention?
Yes. Well, hold on.
Can they be seated for another state?
Okay. All right, I know the question you're asking now. Order. Some other states have the ability to seat delegates outside of their state. And that's not restricted to just being a delegate. People show up all the time and get added to other states. In fact, that state we don't mention hosts a lot of our delegates. All right. That said, we just finished the microphone over here. Come over here, Mr. Berman.
My name is Dan, Taxation is Theft Berman, and I'd like to move to add myself to this list. I have a ticket to go, I've signed the pledge, and I'm ready to be a delegate.
Hi, wait a minute. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, but we didn't finish my move to add me as an alternate delegate. We didn't take a vote. We didn't vote.
Hold on, Eddie's. That motion passed.
It did?
Yes, you're an alternate.
Oh, thank you very much, and I won't let you down. Thank you.
Can you please approach the podium so we can make sure and get your name added?
As a delegate.
All right, now, Mr. Berman has made a motion to add himself as a delegate. There's a second. Is there any objection? There is objection. Is there anyone that wants? There's a withdrawal of the objection, so I'm going to ask you, is there any objection? No objection. All right. Congratulations, Mr. Berman. If you can please approach. All right, we're going to come back over here.
Yeah.
Hello there. J.C. Cook, Henderson County. I'd like to make a motion to nominate,
Nominate myself to be an alternate to the national. That's what I guess. Or I can probably make a motion.
okay, I would make a motion to nominate Risa Willis for slot number 73, please.
So, will you
add to the list, por favor.
Okay, so there is a motion to add Risa Willis to this list, the delegate list. All right, are we clear on the motion? Wait, all right, perfect. I didn't hear a second in there. Is there any objection to adding Risa Willis to the delegate list? Hearing no objection, we'll add Risa Willis. Thank you. We're coming over here, and I just want to point out we have one spot left.
Point of information.
Point of information.
Thank you. How many delegates do we have again?
70. Right now we have 72 delegates.
Total. How many delegates total are we allowed to have?
73.
All right. It shows we have 74 possible.
The top line is the header, so that the number one is not. So right now we have 72 added.
Right, and it says we have 2 spots left. All right, just clarify. Line 76.
All right, thank you. Over here.
Motion to add myself, J.J. Campbell, to the list. I am running for State House District 146, and so yes, I have signed the pledge.
There's been a motion to add J.J. Campbell. There has been a second. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, we have added our last delegate. Whoa. Was there an objection?
Microphone.
Please approach the microphone.
I'd like to move to amend, given the number,
Order.
Whereas there's still some highly prominent people in line behind, I would like to move to amend to make this an alternate.
Move to amend to strike the word delegate and insert alternate. There's a second. Huh? But I did move that out of order because we had to take it by ballot. We have since suspended the rule that requires us to take it by ballot. So, we are good.
I'd like to speak in favor of the motion on the floor. To add JJ.
Well, that's not in order right now. We have an amendment to consider. Yes.
Is it possible, whenever we're selecting our alternates that are left, that we could go through an approval ballot type situation where the people that wanted to be the alternates, and we could vote for all of the people that we thought should fill those spots up to whatever that number is?
Yes, we can print ballots and do that if we want to do nominations.
And do you think that that would be a time-effective way for us to do it?
I don't know, and I'll tell you why. This has obviously taken a lot of time, but if we go to the ballot situation, we're going to have to go back to the ballot distribution process we did last time, which was also quite lengthy.
Thank you.
So, all right, so we have a motion to amend to change the word delegate to alternate. Is there objection to this amendment?
Objection.
There is objection. Seeing no one wishing to be recognized, we can proceed to a vote.
I'm waiting to be recognized.
Okay, for what purpose?
I take issue with the amended language saying that some people are more prominent than others. I think that everyone deserves an equal opportunity to be a delegate, especially considering the amount of time this form has been available online and the amount of time that people have stood in line here.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be recognized to speak on this? Seeing nobody, we can proceed to a vote on the amendment. Right. The main motion is to make him a delegate, and the amendment we're considering is to change delegate to alternate. So we will proceed with a vote on the amendment to change delegate to alternate. All in favor of changing delegate to alternate, raise your hand. All opposed to changing delegate to alternate, raise your hand. The amendment fails. We will now proceed to a vote on the motion. All in favor of adding, I forgot the name, of
J.J. Campbell.
I'm sorry?
J.J. Campbell.
J.J. Campbell as a delegate, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion passes.
73 delegates!
I assume what we're going to do from now on is consider alternates. So let me just ask informally, if you wish to be an alternate, raise your hand.
Raising my hand for someone else.
Okay. I have an idea if we want to try it.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Point of information.
Did I have a motion?
Do you have a motion?
Yes.
Let me speak real quick, and then we can entertain motion. So here's my idea. We could take all these people, we could nominate them, we could vote them all as alternates as a whole, with part of the motion being that at the end of this, the order will be selected by random lottery. I will use random.org, and I will just randomize the number. All right. So does anyone want to make that motion that we nominate? I'll make the motion. Okay. So there is a motion on the floor that we nominate, and given that if there are less nominations than spots available, we then proceed to elect those people and use a random lottery to select their position. Second, is there any objection?
I have a motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
I would like to suggest that the people that filled out the form already, that maybe didn't check that box because they didn't know it was going to be used for this purpose, be put on the top of the list in the order they signed up on that form. For alternates.
So what I'm hearing is a motion to amend to put the lottery of people who already filled out the form first, and then the lottery of people who hadn't filled out the form. Is that an understanding? All right. Is the secretary clear? We're going to give the secretary just a moment.
So all that stuff can be posted online.
For the people that did it online and were ahead of the game, we should probably be upfront. Right now, we're in line.
What are you doing?
What's the
What's the LP pledge? It says that we signed the LP pledge.
Okay, hold up. The secretary did not understand the motion, and I suspect if he didn't understand, there's probably others. So I want to re-explain the amendment and make sure that we were clear. The people who filled out the form, I'm going to give an example. Let's say there are 15 alternates that are added that had filled out the form. I will do a lottery for those 15 people, and they will get the first random 15 spots. And then people that didn't fill out the form will be in a second lottery that goes 16 through, let's say, 40, and they will be randomized as well. Is that a correct understanding of your intended amendment?
I was gonna suggest that the order they signed the form would be the order for those, but random's fine too, I don't care.
Okay, so let me ask, because you're making the amendment, which amendment do you want to make?
The order they signed the form.
The order, so the people who signed the form will be added in the order they signed the form, and the rest will be randomized. Point of information. Okay. Point of information.
Can we verify which of those people who are in his, who are affected by his motion, who may actually have already been added to this list since we cut it off? They may have already been nominated from these microphones, which means they could wind up on their.
We will be proceeding to the nomination and election of alternates, so we've already showed the delegates. I would assume just don't renominate someone for alternate who is already on the list. Okay, you want to scroll back through it? Is that what you're asking?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, let's clear the screens out so people can see.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Call the question.
We're going to scroll through this list now. I'll recognize that.
I mean, you got a delegate spot, right? So
Calling out pending questions?
Call out pending questions.
Yeah, we're planning on going. I've never been to New Orleans. It'd be a good. I like traveling. Oh, dang.
Point of information. What we're trying to figure out is who is on the original sign-up list that Mr. Smith wanted to add, who may already have been added from the floor. Because the motion was to add the people who didn't make it on originally because they signed up too late or didn't sign the pledge. If those people have amended their little registrations, they may have already been added to this list anyway. So we don't want to wind up duplicating by adding all the people who signed up late if they've already been added here. So we need to see the list from the original registration.
Okay, I think there's misunderstanding here. Nobody has made a motion to add everybody who signed up as alternates. That hadn't been done. We're just saying that we are going to nominate people from the floor, and if they signed up, they get preferential spot.
Now I get it. Thank you.
All right, so everybody's clear? Okay.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Or point of information, have we exceeded the time allotted an extra 20
We
minutes?
have hit the end of time.
We've called the question and let's close
Well,
this.
hold up, because there's two people trying to call the questions, which is completely unnecessary when we've gotten to the end of time, because we will now proceed to a vote. All right. We will now proceed to a vote. We will first vote on the amendment, which gives preferential treatment to people, preferential spot to people who have already filled out the form. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed to the amendment? All right, the amendment passes. We will now proceed to a vote on the process for adding alternates. Are there any questions on is everybody clear on the process? Okay. All in favor of adopting this process, raise your hand. All opposed? The process is adopted. I also want to say we've run out of time, so if we want to actually use the process, we need to move to extend.
Move to extend.
How long?
20 minutes. We still have to get this worked out, people.
There's been a motion to extend for 20 minutes. Is there a second? Point of order.
Could we not set up the list off to the side while still conducting other business?
Yes.
I'm sorry? What was the point of order?
The point of order is, could we not set up the sign-up list that we already just moved to adopt off to the side while conducting other business? Since we already agreed to adopt what that list says.
Well, and here's the problem with that. If more people sign up than we have spots, we need to know how many are signed up first, and then just move to accept that.
Chop from the bottom.
Okay.
We still have to extend to have this discussion.
All right. No, okay. I get your motion. The motion is, oh, okay. All right, we can put a sign-up sheet at the back. I'm not hearing any objection to that, and we will have 72 spots to be signed up for, and we will use the process outline. Okay, all that said, you wish to withdraw your motion?
No, I wish to amend my motion.
Okay, amend.
Extend for 5 minutes to have instruction properly and to address any issue that needs to be done right away.
There's been a motion to extend for 5 minutes.
Point of order.
Point of order.
You said 72 slots. That does not include the people who already signed up online and would be given preferential slots.
Isn't preferential spots given to the delegates themselves?
Hold up.
I have a second.
So, the original motion was for people to sign up or be signed up using the sheet. The preferential treatment was only people who signed on the form. So are you saying that we want everybody who signed up online to automatically be added? Is that what we're saying?
No.
That's not how it was. Okay. So only 72 people who signed up on the form, I'm saying 72 because we already added one alternate, will be added, but preferential treatment will be given to people who filled out the online form. Okay, there has been a motion to extend for 5 minutes. Is there a second? Is there objection to extending? There is objection. All in favor of extending for 5 minutes, raise your hand. All opposed? We will extend for 5 minutes. Yes.
I have a motion, please, to remove myself from the delegate list, replace it with Mary Rubert, and putting me on the alternate list.
Were you added via the sign-up form or via?
I was on the original list. I was on the original approved list.
Yes.
And I would like to nominate someone to take my place, because everything has changed in the last week for me, so I'm not sure that I can do that. I know.
Is there any objection to doing that? There is objection. Okay, we're gonna have to go formal on this one. It's gonna have to be a motion to reconsider the motion. You were on the original 62?
Yes, but the motion is to replace my nomination for that position.
Stand in. All right, I'll accept that as a main motion.
Like to be alternate 420.
All right. Second.
Can I make that motion?
Is there any debate before we, yes?
Up 420 is like 4 times. We got pictures that ring.
So we can nominate
We got
the people
pictures
to
that ring
take our
420.
place automatically. I would like to nominate Adolf Hitler to take my place. Second. My point is, that's very undemocratic. He can choose who takes his place, I can choose who takes my place. No.
He's making a motion, we will decide as a group if this happens.
And then you're giving preference to somebody, we've already selected alternates.
This is becoming dilatory as to whether the body can do this or not. All right,
Volunteerism.
if there's no other discussion, we can proceed to a vote.
I'd like to just say something neutral on the matter. May I do that?
Something neutral in the matter.
Yeah. I'm not for it or against it, but I want to speak on it.
Okay, let's try this.
Okay. Mary is a wonderful person and a longtime libertarian and should be at our national convention.
Okay.
However, I'm concerned at opening a can of worms that everybody gonna want to replace everybody with somebody else. So, could we make an amendment that we do this once for Mary because she's special? Or what? I wanted to just say that. I want us to all consider that when we're voting it. Is this something that we want to set as a precedent to be doing for everyone? I don't think so. But I feel like Mary really should be there. So thank you for humoring me to let me speak on it.
All right, thank you. If there is no other discussion,
We're gonna run out of time.
I'm going to make a motion to divide because I think I'm going to make a motion to divide because what we're really proposing is removing and adding.
And nominating.
Replacing isn't really a valid function in my opinion, parliamentary, so I move to divide the question.
okay, we can do that, but the second question won't be valid if the first doesn't pass, because there won't be a spot.
And then can I speak to that?
Yes.
There's nothing anywhere in Roberts that establishes that this body has the authority to stop him from withdrawing his nomination. To withdraw his nomination is not a motion for this body. The reason to divide, in my opinion, because the proper procedure should be for this gentleman to say, I withdraw my nomination. Then a second motion, I want Mary Ruart to be put in that slot.
So you're saying withdraw his office, because he's elected at this point? Yeah, resign his office, so, yeah.
One of them resign with this body having no jurisdiction saying yes or no.
All right.
Can you tell me if there's ever been a time where all delegates and alternates have actually shown up to the national convention?
I cannot, but I doubt it. All right, with that said, we can first move to a vote on the motion to divide. All in favor of dividing the question, raise your hand. All opposed to dividing the question. That passes. All in favor of removing Troy Bonard from the delegate list, raise your hand. All opposed? All right, that passes. All in favor of adding Mary Ruart to the list, raise your hand. All opposed? That passes.
Thank you very much.
Troy, can you come over? Okay, he's got it, he's got it. All right.
Mr. Chair, part of that original motion was that I would be added to the alternate list.
Oh, hold up. We're actually out of time on this, so we can't entertain any more motions. I do want to explain real quick before we close this out and move on to platform.
I move to extend.
How long?
10 minutes.
Do you mind if I give an explanation before we extend? Okay. We're going to put out a sign-up sheet with the correct number of slots where people can sign up, and we will use a lottery process to determine order for people who have not signed up on the online form. That said, we can now entertain a motion to extend. Point of order.
Yes.
Is there any objection to adding him as an alternate? There is objection. All right. We can now proceed to a vote on adding him as an alternate. All in favor of... Point of order. He will have to sign up on the sheet. But that was part of his motion, so we will consider it. All in favor of adding him as an alternate, raise your hand. All opposed? He is added as an alternate. All right. Motion to extend for how long now?
10 minutes.
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
All right. There's a second. There is objection. We will now proceed to a vote on extending for 10 more minutes. All in favor of extending for 10 minutes, raise your hand. Point of information. That's getting to debate. I don't know the answer, and we're going to have to dispose of this first. All in favor of extending for 10 minutes, raise your hand. All opposed to extending for 10 minutes. That does not gain 2/3. We're closing this out and moving on to platform.
Point of information.
Point of information.
So all the people who've been standing in line for at least half an hour now, what are they supposed to do to get, because I don't think it's clear to everybody. Where and when are they going to do this, and is it now a race to get there first?
Hold up. Hey, I don't think there's any race because I don't think there's 72 people or 70 people, whatever the number is at this point, wishing to sign up. We will, Ms. Wilford, do you have the means to make a list with 71 slots on it that can be set over there at the credentials table? It will be at the credentials table. All right. Will the platform committee please join us?
Point of information real quick.
Point of information.
Did you know that about 300 people have spent 13 hours in this room, totaling 3,900 human hours of life? Almost 90 weeks, 90 work weeks of human life in this room. I would question if we've created any more freedom, and I would challenge the people here to spend an equal amount of time over the next year or two out there creating libertarians.
Point of information. Point of information.
Is it correct that whenever you are leaving the convention, that in order to properly have quorum and to deal properly with what we have, people should be checking out through credentials? Is this correct?
That is the option of the delegate, but if you wish to help us maintain quorum, checking out would be helpful.
Thank you very much. So that's anyone here that would be leaving would need to be doing that?
That will not be returning.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to recess for 5 minutes.
Motion to recess for 5 minutes, second. Any other discussion?
May I speak to it?
No, it's not debatable.
Okay.
All right. There is objection. All in favor of recessing for 5 minutes, raise your hand. All opposed? It passes. Thank you. I needed that.
Where we headed?
Check, check. Can we get some help to get some chairs from the alternate section up here to the platform committee table, please? We need 3 chairs. Jim.
I'm almost not sure what I signed up for, but I did, because I hadn't done it. I could have stayed with it, and I well, and I thought this was most of it. I can actually drive this. Well, I like not the airplanes. It's, you know, there's all this shit you gotta go through. It's the luggage. It would just be on the plane. If I can get on a private plane and fly there, there's no problem whatsoever. I don't really have a problem with flying. I have a problem with the whole all the stuff that goes wrong with it. And I had that problem before 9/11. The year before that, in 2000, I got a canceled flight, you know, the luggage went one way, I went the other way, and, you know, and I just swore I forgot, if there's any way possible, I can never fly again, I'm not going to do it through an airport. And I haven't had it in 2000, I had it closed in 2000. No! Well, I flew one time and I flew an airplane. So that's what she's been. I drove to Portland, Oregon twice and for one time. My daughter lives in Portland, Oregon. She flies to see me, but I drive to see her. It's a nice drive from here going to Portland. If you go to the northern route, it's good. The southern route from California and through Arizona on I-10, that sucks. But the northern route, like over here, it's great because the scenery is beautiful. You go to Denver and you know, Salt Lake City and that way. It's a beautiful drive. It just takes 3 days. Yeah. Well, most people don't think about it. Yeah. It's not fancy to go to California. It's actually fancy to go to Italy. Let's see. I went through Tulsa, Wichita, and I went to part of Kansas, and then through Salt Lake City, and through part of Idaho, and then I got on that the northern coast road in Oregon where you drive down the borders for 50 or 60 miles, which is beautiful night. And there were people that had windsurf down
Order. Order. Our 5 minutes has extended, and I see our secretary wishing to be recognized. He has moved to recess for 10 more minutes. There's a second. Is there any objection? There's objection. All in favor of recessing for 10 more minutes, raise your hand. All opposed? That fails.
Bandera, not even where Bandera is. West San Antonio. North of I-10 then. South of I-10. I'm an East Texas guy, so I don't know where. Yeah, through Fort Stockton and yeah, all the way. So I came back from Portland, Oregon. I drove through El Paso and Fort Stockton. You know what's hard? You couldn't see the sign. We're southwest of Berkeley, southeast. Sure. I said I heard that. Cook County is just about 100 miles, well, 100 miles by road north of Houston. And Lake Livingston, by crow, about 70 miles. The largest town in Cook County is Livingston, which is only about 15,000 people. So we don't have any big cities. The closest town I lived in is part of the Huntsville, which is where the big prisons are. So that's
All right, real quick. Our parliamentarian has left to take a break. He will be back shortly. But point of personal privilege. Yes, please. We'll return to order. So, let me find the correct section in our rules.
What do you do?
All right.
I live about 2 blocks off the lake. My hobby is messing about boats. I like sailing and kayaking.
So, here is the situation we find ourselves in. There has been a petition circulated and signed to have something added to the agenda. The wording of this petition is a petition to place a platform amendment. Which one it is not really germane to the question we're about to address. Directly in front of the platform committee report. So there's a couple of sections in our rules. Actually, if you could pull up rules, that would probably be good. There's a couple of sections in our rules that we kind of touch on here. First up is a petition to place something on the agenda. Hold up. I'm looking at it. Search 10%, both either by number or by word.
How long the drive is it from here to Bend? It must be 12 hours.
Perfect, thank you. So that is 4.5.G.
Been to San Antonio a couple times.
And I'll read it off the screen here because
I really haven't visited anything.
it's easier that way. A petition signed by 10% of the delegates attending any convention shall be sufficient to automatically place any legitimate item of business on the agenda of that convention for its consideration. So the first piece here, I do recognize that we have received a petition. It does seem to have obtained the necessary number of signatures, and I do agree that a platform amendment is in order for this convention. So then the next thing, this particular petition has been signed to place it before the platform committee report. However, if you go in our rules to orders of business 4.4.e, it actually says, at all state conventions, the order of business shall be as follows. And goes through various items of business until we get to number 18, after the election of presidential electors, if applicable, of other business. The item number 16 is the report of the platform committee. A 10% petition does not amend the report of the platform committee. That's their report. So, I am ruling that 10% of the body is not sufficient to place something on the agenda outside of the order set in our rules, that it must go under other business, and we would require a suspension of the agenda in order to move it in front of the platform committee report.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to challenge the ruling of that, of the chair.
All right. All right. Do you want to speak to the reason for your challenge?
Yeah, I presume we have a second, is that correct?
Is there a second to the challenge? There is a second. Do you want to speak to the reason for your challenge?
Yes, please. Once again, we're at a point where we determine what the body wants to do, and the body is the one that controls this. This is an interpretation. Can you hear me? Yeah. The body is the one that determines what the interpretation of the rules are ultimately. The chair helps guide us, the parliamentarian guides the chair, but we as a body get to decide what we want to do in the interpretation of rules. Once again, this is a narrow reading of report of the platform committee in action on its report. Is technically about the platform committee report, but I think a broad ruling of these rules is that when it comes to this topic, we're talking about platform matters. And so my understanding is that if we're going to talk about platform matters, we ought to do it all together. And that if a petition under our rules says that they want to do it right before the platform committee report, that we as a body should do it. This, as I understand it, this petition has to do with reproductive rights and the thing that we adopted in 2016. So the question is,
the content of the specific amendment is not germane to whether.
Okay. Ignore what I just said. Ignore it. Anyway, that's the bottom line. Do you guys want to pick this up now under a platform or not? That's what this is all about.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. If there's any other debate on this, all right, let's go.
I am your current platform chair. Thank you. The people before you are your committee, and we have spent over 250 plus hours apiece working on behalf of you to present the proposals for you.
Carrie, I understand the
hard work. Addressing you. I'm so sorry.
That wasn't my specific. Hold up. I understand the hard work you guys have put in, but what we really need to be speaking to now is what do the rules say and how should we read them? And I appreciate the work you have put in, but do you have something about the rules right now?
I'm glad you said that. I believe that based on our rules, it is set up so that we can address the platform committee's proposals and report, and after that, deal with things that come from this body. Not that they're not important, but to deal with them after.
Thank you. Yes.
The reality of the situation here is what I am trying to change is for the whole party. I'm trying to make it, okay, stop, all right. Basically, the reality is, if the reason I want to go first, I don't mind waiting.
Hold on.
Okay, all right, the reason I want to go
No,
first.
stop, please. Here's the issue.
Yes.
And this is why I've stopped everyone else. It's not important what the amendment is. It's not important what you're trying to accomplish with it. What's important is, what do the rules say? So is your argument about why the rules should be read differently? That's my question.
Yes, as it is important that the body controls the rules and the interpretation of the rules. The reality is, this is unlikely to be considered if we do not do it now.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to speak in favor of recognition of the rules as written. Just as the concern was expressed that this will not be considered, I don't think anything else on the platform committee's proposals will be considered if we get mired up in this wedge issue.
Anyone else seeking to be recognized? I'm going to recognize the secretary here. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead with Mr. Cox.
Mr. Chair, I have been through this process before. I actually created a platform amendment that I wish to pass in this exact same manner. And the precedent that I had to follow was that it was other business than Temple. It was also never considered, but that was the rules. And I would uphold the ruling of the chair.
I call the question, sir. I call the question, Mr. Chairman. There's been a motion to call the question. Is there objection to calling the question? Point of order. That is not a good point. I will come over here.
I'm speaking in favor of upholding the ruling of the chair. My understanding is that this subject matter is not germane to the rest of the report, and I think we do need to have some time to hear the rest of the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll come over here. Yes.
I call the question.
Thank you. I heard a second. Is there objection? There is objection.
Point of information.
Point of information.
So are we just moving it to other business after everything? Is that
We're about to determine that depending on whether.
But is that the question? It's not saying we're not going to discuss it at all, but just move it to later, right?
Yes. Yes.
The petition would be valid. Sorry.
Yes. The petition is valid. All in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. All opposed to calling the question, raise your hand. 2/3 is attained. We call the question. Okay. First, we're going to vote. Now we're going to vote on whether to uphold the ruling of the chair. If you wish to uphold my ruling that this, based on our rules, must go under other business, you will raise your hand with the yeas. If you wish to overturn my ruling, you will raise your hand with the nays. All in favor of upholding my ruling, raise your hand. All wishing to overturn my ruling, raise your hand. My ruling is upheld. We will now move on to the platform committee report, and I will be working the clocks.
Does this mean now I get to say whatever I want to, John?
I'd like to make a motion.
Like to make a motion?
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the entire platform committee's report now.
There has been a motion to accept the platform committee's report in its entirety.
Yes.
Robert Applebaum?
Yes.
Yes. There was a second. Is there objection? There is objection. Does someone want to speak? Do you want to speak on your motion?
We have had plenty of time to review it. It's been online for a couple of weeks. We had even a phone call where all the information was available and discussed. You should by now have a pretty good idea of whether you agree with all of it. So we could get past a lot of things if we have the majority agree to the whole platform.
All right, thank you. Is there someone wishing to speak against?
I would like to speak against because I have a whole bunch of beautiful people who apparently have each spent 250 hours compiling this report, and we have had it in advance so we can review it. This is correct. However, I think that we should hear from them, and since we've all reviewed it, we know what actions we want to take. We have clearly been moving well through our business, and I think that we can vote and move forward through it quickly and still address any other business that needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
I'm going to recognize the secretary.
At least you know, it's worth a shot. I want to eat lunch.
Never mind, there was a scare that we were going to have to suspend the rules, but it looks like we're okay. All right. We just heard against. Is there anyone to speak for? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Chair, would it be in order to make a motion to amend the motion?
Yes and no. It is completely in order to make a motion to amend. However, it has been brought to my attention that he was just referencing the wrong rule, and we will need to suspend the rules to do this.
Understood. I would like to amend the motion as is to suspend the rules to allow the platform committee's recommendations to be adopted in whole, concluding a report from the platform committee.
Second.
So, let me understand the intent here. The platform committee will go through its entire report, and then at the very end, we're going to vote to accept the whole thing?
Yes, as a suspension of the rules.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it was going to take a long time to reach that.
Essentially insert suspend the rules to.
Well, some of us got to go. You didn't get no.
Here's.
I don't know who they give them all out to. Delegates. I'm a delegate, but I didn't get one.
Okay, I think I understand your motion. Because normally going through the report involves debate and all this. You're wanting to hear from the committee on every proposal and then take up a vote. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Point of inquiry?
One thing that's a problem, one problem, we can't in the amendment make this now a suspension, but we can take a separate motion to suspend the rules for consideration of this motion. All right, so.
You may have just answered it. The suspension is separate from making the actual decision.
Yes.
Good.
Point of information?
Yes.
So, according to what you would like to do, we would hear from them. However, we would not be able to address each proposal. It would basically be an up or down of the entire report.
At the very end of them
At the very end.
Yes.
So there will be no discussion on individual proposals at all in this circumstance?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion on the floor, an amendment, but unless someone wants to make a motion to suspend the rules for this purpose, I'm going to rule them both out of order.
So moved.
You're moving to suspend the rules in order to address the motion on the floor. All right. That's not in order unless you're recognized. Is there any objection to the suspension of the rules? There is objection. We can proceed to a vote on the suspension of the rules. All in favor of suspending the rules for this purpose, raise your hand. All opposed? That fails to gain 2/3, so the motion is out of order. All right, we can now proceed with the platform committee's report.
Point of information. Point of information.
Point of information.
Yes. I know we had a discussion yesterday about you couldn't move amendments to the rules report. Can we move amendments to the platform committee report?
That is a great question. Okay, here we go. So, the section under committee reports, 4.5.h.4, says that amendments must be considered by, excuse me, dying. They must be considered by the committee before they are in order. However, if you look under 4.5.h.5, that specifically deals with platform committee reports, under 3, it says, during this time, amendments may be proposed from the floor, one at a time, and the proposed amendments shall be voted on before voting on the recommendation as amended. Since this is a more specifically addressed to platform committee section, it overrules the previous rule, so amendments are in order to this report.
Point of information.
Point of information.
I would like to know how many hours went into the platform committee creating this amended document.
Mr. McKinnon?
At least 250 hours per person, and some people did way more.
I would like to know how the platform committee was selected.
By select per our rules.
I would like the opinion of the chair on the confidence we have in the platform committee.
I'm actually going to have to stop this. First of all, that's not my place to give that opinion. But I'm going to stop this. We need something pending on the floor to debate it, and at this time it is their time to give a report and then move. Thank you. Thank you.
So fellow libertarians, we want to...
Apologies, Gary. Point of order. Yes.
Point of order.
I move to overrule the ruling of the chair and say that the rule that was applied yesterday to the Rules Committee report does also apply to the Platform Committee report.
All right. There's been a challenge to the ruling of the chair. I guess I'm to speak to it first. I more or less feel I've said what there's to say. It is in parliamentary procedure and under parliamentary guidelines that when you read a rule, if two rules conflict with each other, you are to read it with the most meaning possible. So when we have something that has a more general guideline, like this generally applies to committee reports, and then something under that specifically applies to a certain committee, that more specific point is read to overrule the more general point. So that is why I'm ruling in this way. You wish to speak against my ruling?
And I very much I trust your integrity. I know that you always read the rules, based on how you believe their intent is. So I absolutely respect your ruling as chair. Still, I believe that this body, convention body, decided yesterday that that we want to enforce that rule, that amendments to a platform or amendments to committee reports should be submitted ahead of time. Because we don't want last-minute amendments to slow us down, and since that applies to the rules, we should even more so apply it to committee, because the platform cannot be changed until next two-year convention. Rules can be fixed by select with a 4/5 vote, so it should apply here as well.
Okay. Any other discussion before we proceed to a vote? Please approach the microphones.
I want to speak in favor of
let me ask real quick. The secretary's asking. Did that receive a second? Anyone? Okay. There's a second. All right. We have heard someone speak against. Is there someone in favor of upholding the ruling of the chair?
I'm in favor.
Please.
To speak in favor of the chair's ruling, it's clear that the platform committee is separate out from the rules committee as we read the rules. And so clearly in the intent of the rules was that different rules apply for the platform committee and how we handle the report.
I have spoken to the parliamentarian. He doesn't believe the nature of rule is appealable, and we have not heard an argument for why the rule is read different. We have heard a reason why it would be a beneficial thing to read the rule differently, which is not an argument to overrule it. So in that case, unless there is a good argument for why the rule isn't read this way, I'm going to rule it out of order. You cannot suspend that rule. Okay. Okay. Robert's Rules of Order, page 56, line 17. A general statement or rule is always of less authority than a specific statement or rule and yields to it. If somebody has a proposal for how we read that differently, please raise your hand.
Point of information.
Thank you.
Can you clarify for the body, does this mean that they will be accepting amendments or the amendments will not be accepted?
At this point, amendments will be accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we can now proceed to a report from the Platform Committee.
Are y'all sure I can continue?
I'm like 80% at this point.
Thank you. Fellow Libertarians, we want to thank you for the opportunity that was given to us by Select and the great honor and privilege for us to look over the platform and to make the platform completely and totally more libertarian, because we are the Libertarian Party of Texas. First, I would like for y'all to turn to page 3 in your report that y'all have in your binders. And I should say that's page 3 of the actual platform report, not just page 3 in your binder itself.
Be happy to share with you here. Page 3 of the.
So the first thing that we're going to...
Point of information. Can we get it on the screen?
He's working on that.
While we're waiting on Arthur to get on the screen, the first 3 things that we're going to go over are actually very simple things for y'all to vote on in the opinion of the committee. The first one is regarding to just clarify in the statement of principles, and you will notice that the change that we are asking for is in the second sentence of the statement of principles, where it at the current says we hold that that libertarians by definition. We were proposing to strike out hold that libertarians by definition and just say we oppose the initiation of force, threat of, harm, coercion, or fraud. And that is the only change that we are seeking to make to the statement of principles.
Point of order.
Go ahead.
What is the threshold for making changes to the statement of principles in our platform? Just a rules check, please.
Check with the parliamentary. We're going to continue hearing the report while we look up that answer.
It's supposed to be lunch at 12:30. At 12:30, we can come back and finish this after. So we have time after lunch. I just want to make sure we do it.
The answer to that question was 2/3.
2/3 is required to change the principle.
So that change is going to take 2/3. You will notice that later on, we're going to ask you for a clerical change in regards to where it says the Libertarian Party of Texas and in parentheses LPTexas. That is also in your statement of principles. So at this time, that change will also take place in the change of the statement of principles. And then that clerical error will be for everything after that. So this does require a 2/3 vote. So the platform committee is motioning for that change. Moving for that change, sorry. Thank you. We have,
A second is not required for your motions.
thank you though.
I'd like to speak in favor.
Yeah, we're going to call for a vote. Go ahead.
We have a call for a vote. Okay.
The motion has been made. Is there an objection? There is an objection. I heard. Mike.
Are we just going to vote on this and not debate it?
You objected, so we're going to be now debating it.
All right. I want to ask this question about, are we considering both the change in the sentence about coercion and also this LPTexas thing at the same time? All right, then I want to talk about the LPTexas thing. Why is the committee proposing this?
The question has been asked, why is the committee changing LPTexas throughout the
And the
document?
Libertarian Party of Texas to LPTexas with no space between LP and Texas. Why is the committee proposing this?
Because that, over the last 2 years, that has been our branding. We did change it 2 years ago. There are some places in our platform that it was not changed because we did not do a clerical motion at the last convention. So that's why we are moving for that at this convention. The motion that is on the floor right now is just dealing with the statement of principles itself. The clerical error that you're speaking to will be the third item we're going to address. So you may want to hold that objection till then.
Well, okay, I understand it, but I'm understanding you're going to do this twice, is that right? About the LPTexas thing. You're going to do it in the statement of principles, and then you're going to reintroduce it again for the rest of the platform?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to talk about it now and not wait until later, okay?
You're welcome to do so.
Okay. So I don't understand this branding idea. I didn't understand it 2 years ago. What is the point of having something that's LPTexas with no space between LP and Texas? I've never understood the branding. It's just been proposed and we've sort of adopted it, and I've never heard an explanation for
Point
it.
of order. We actually have a rule that stipulates that each amendment to the statement of principles or platform must be considered on a separate basis. That's 4.5.I.
Of course, I knew better, but I thought it was right.
I think they missed the comments.
Oh, I'm sure they did. But then you can argue that this is clean up with actually an amendment. So, yes. And I'm sure they had missed a comma somewhere. Exactly. Exactly. So we don't have to go through it line by line.
In a room, we had
We can't get anything. We can't get hard to get 2/3 to agree on it.
Point of information.
Point of information.
May I ask a question to the platform chair?
Go ahead.
Carrie, how many times are you going to be updating it from Libertarian Party of Texas to LPTexas throughout the platform to bring it in line with what we did last time around?
It's only twice.
In the whole document.
Well, it's only gonna be brought up twice, it's only it's only gonna be two motions. But in multiple places within the platform, anywhere that it currently says LPTexas, the Libertarian Party of Texas, and then parentheses LPTexas, that clerical change that we will talk about shortly is going to move to change that everywhere within the platform.
Okay.
Except the statement of principles, because that's within this.
And the statement of principles is subject to different rules, is what I'm hearing? So that's why we have to address it separately?
That is correct.
Thank you for clarifying that.
The parliamentarian would like a clarification on your question, Gary.
I really want to debate this. I don't consider it to be a
You
clerical error.
want to debate the changing of the branding throughout the document.
Right. And so I guess now is the time to do it, even though it's not really about the statement of principles. Because I don't want to wait until later after we do it this time, if we do it this time.
Okay.
Just because your spelling check doesn't like LPTexas, there's no space.
If you want to debate whether to change it in the statement of principles, I think those debates will apply throughout the document. So I would recommend you just make a debate on why we should or should not change it now.
Yes, fine. And I don't want to belabor it. I just think it's a terrible idea, and that's really the point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Is there somebody to speak in favor?
Yes.
Have you been at the microphone longer? Yeah. Please.
I'd like to move to call the question.
Motion to call the question. Is there objection to calling the question? There is objection. Point of order.
I believe there was an earlier point of order that asked if our rules required that we take these two changes to the statement of principles separately or not, and I don't believe that was answered.
So the question you just asked and the question I heard earlier are separate. If it's two changes to the statement of principles, no. But if it's a change to the statement of principles and a change to the platform, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is everybody clear? We will proceed to a vote on whether or not to call the question. All in favor of calling the question on this amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? That does gain 2/3. We will now proceed to a vote on the amendment on the screen. Is everything on the screen correct? All right, thank you. And this requires a 2/3 vote. Point of order, please approach the microphone.
Just to clarify, the amendment in its proposed entirety, not just what's on the screen at any given chance.
Yes, what is in the document that is on the screen. All right. Yes.
That's not a clear answer, right?
We are considering the entire proposal. Is that a clear answer?
All three changes in the statement of principles.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm the only one to.
Yes, not the whole report, the entire proposal. All right, thank you. If there is no other points of information or points of order, we will proceed to a vote. All in favor, is point of privilege? Okay, sorry. All in favor of making the change, raise your hand. All opposed to making the change, raise your hand. It passes. Mr. McKinnon or whoever else is doing it.
I have a point of information.
Point of information.
Would it be in order to have a motion to recess, have a motion to recess early so people can check out of their hotel rooms as noon is the deadline?
A motion to recess is always in order, if that's your.
I make the motion to recess.
For how
long? Start the lunch break now at this point.
A
'Cause we're
motion
taking
to
12,
recess
right?
for lunch and return at, let me look at my schedule.
Just return like 10 minutes early or whatever.
Return at 1:30. Actually, we call it to order at 1:45. We will be assembling here at 1:30. Give 15 minutes to get everybody settled. Is that your wish?
That's
There's a
correct.
second. Is there objection to the recess? There is objection. All in favor of recessing for lunch now, raise your hands. Point of information.
I don't. Anyone who is planning on leaving at lunch should return their voting badges, correct?
No.
To check, anyone who is checking out.
Let me confirm with the credentials committee, but I don't believe that's necessary. Anastasia. Do people going to lunch need to return?
No, that's not what I asked. Anybody who's planning on leaving the convention after lunch
Okay.
should return their credentials, correct?
If you want to check out to help the body maintain quorum, you can. Thank you. All right. All in favor of recessing for lunch, raise your hand. All opposed to recessing for lunch? We are recessed for lunch. Thank you. Sorry, we will return here at 1:30 and I'm gaveling us in at 1:45.